Welcome to the Thought Snob Podcast. I'm Paula Swope. Let's get snobby. This episode of the Thought Snob Podcast is for those of you who feel a calling to get your books out into the world. Let me just say that if you have a burning desire to write a book, that means you're meant to write it. So if that resonates with you, keep listening. If you followed my author journey, you know I've had my fair share of trials and tribulations. Although I take full responsibility for every mistake, I could have done without the con artist and those who inflated their capabilities. Many people take full advantage of a new author's inexperience, and I learned this the hard way. Last year, I was talking to my friend and colleague, Dr. Melissa Carver, who has also had her fair share of lessons learned through trial and error in the publishing world. We talked about the money we had lost, the time, and how there wasn't an easily accessible resource for new authors. Yeah, the information's out there, but you got to go down a rabbit hole to find it. So Melissa and I came up with a solution. The outcome is the Aspiring Authors Summit. I invited Melissa to the Thought Snob studio to discuss how the summit came to fruition, and our conversation is full of wisdom that will help you avoid common pitfalls that often lead aspiring authors to give up on their dreams. So we need to talk about why we started this Aspiring Author Summit.
Because we both learned a lot of hard, expensive, time-consuming lessons. And we wish we would have had a guide.
Exactly. And I'll just kind of kick off by saying that when I decided, and I take a lot of the blame for the mistakes
Yeah.
that I made, but then things could have been a whole lot easier and less brutal and less humiliating if I hadn't crossed paths with like a con artist type person. And the publishing industry, unfortunately, is infiltrated by those types of people. And so in 2019, I decided to start working on a rough draft. And usually the first, I think, manuscript that you do, or this was the case with me, I thought it was really good and it wasn't. It's just like...
Until an editor got a hold of it?
Yeah, and it's like, but I got mixed up with some, crappy editors too. I mean, and way
I was lucky there. Yeah, I was.
You had a good experience.
I did there, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. It just, the beginning was just stupid. And, but I had that manuscript, and it had been through one round of editing with this editor, and I paid $4,000 for this manuscript to be edited, and it wasn't edited. I got it back, and there were just a bunch of notes in the review panel on Word document.
Mm-hmm. Leaving the work up to you.
Was just leaving it up to me. It was $4,000. And so I'm like, is this how this really goes? Oh, okay. I didn't do my homework.
Right.
So that's really where the problem started.
But the people are hard to find, though.
They are.
Even if you do your homework.
They are.
It's hard to find legitimate people who aren't con artists,
mm-hmm.
who are also good at the actual task, whatever that may be in the book process,
mm-hmm.
and getting those good referrals.
Right.
It's like the industry wants to keep them on lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell them about that person.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up getting tangled up with a Vanity Press. And I just want to say that was my inspiration for teaming up with you to do the summit, because a Vanity Press can serve an author well if that author just wants to write a book
and have it on a shelf.
Or give it to their mama, or give it to their granny, or give it to their friend. If they don't want to turn the book into a career, sure.
Right. If you don't want to make any money off of it.
If you don't make any money off of it,
yeah.
You don't want to distribute it, fine. $3,000, bam, bam, bam. They'll do your book cover. They will not edit it. They will tell you they will, but they won't.
No, they will not.
They will not. Mm-hmm. So a Vanity Press will serve a purpose there. With me, I got hooked up with a vanity press that promised me the moon. They delivered on nothing. They did not edit the book. It was low quality work, just really all the way around. And it was just a string of events. And at the time, I was working so much. I was working like 60 hours a week as a grant writer. And so this book was like a little side project.
Right.
And I was just letting this woman just have free reign because I thought she knew more than me. Well, she
she
kind
acted
of
like she
did.
did.
She acted like she did, but she didn't. And it really just was a disheartening, humiliating, really expensive mess.
Can I ask how much you ended up paying her?
$25,000.
And that's on top of the $4,000 that you paid the editor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whew.
Because she had, she worked on not one book, but 2 books. And she charged me for things I just did not need. She talked me into doing an ebook, and at the time, I mean, looking back on it, I'm ashamed to admit it. I didn't know how it worked. I do now, but she's like, you can take this and you can, upload it to wherever you want to take it, whether that be Barnes and Noble or Amazon or Ingram Spark, and I'm like, oh, okay. It was the PDF file,
Right.
and I didn't even look at the file for months later because I was so busy. And then COVID hit, and my God, my mother-in-law passed away, and all this stuff happened, and I just was not handling my business.
It's
And
a lot, though.
it's a
On
lot.
top of working 60 hours a week. I mean, just the book writing and publishing process is a full-time job.
Yes.
So it's 2 full-time jobs,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
which is what makes it easy for people to take advantage
Yes.
of those who are aspiring to be published authors and do it legitimately.
Mm-hmm.
Because also the research is a full-time job.
The research is a full-time job, and if I would have sat down, I think the summit, it takes about maybe, I think, 8 hours to get all the way through it. If I would have sat down, took one day and watched that summit in 2019, would have saved me 25 grand.
Absolutely, which is why we wanted to do it,
Mm-hmm.
to save everyone, not just the money, but the heartbreak. It's really heartbreaking.
It is.
Because you get so excited. That's
Mhm.
the main reason I wanted to do it for people, because I came out the gate just hardcore marketing, was putting every ounce of spare energy that I had into putting it out there
Mhm.
and making those connections. And I expected my publisher to at least kind of sort of meet me halfway. I mean, I understand it is the author's job to publish or to promote, and I knew that going in.
Mhm.
But I thought they were going to do a little bit of that as well, and I got nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing. Zero marketing whatsoever.
So your editing experience with this is Melissa's book. Who the hell told you that?
Now, see, I had David G to help guide me on a lot of things
Yeah.
on the back end.
Yeah.
So
Let's talk about that.
that
Yeah.
is a little perk that I had going on
Mhm.
in the background. So David G connected me with his very first editor. So see, that's
So you
how I
had a
can-
cream of the crop.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that was the plus there.
Mhm.
But unless you have a David G or someone like us or something like this summit guiding you,
Mhm.
you're just fishing and don't know what you're going to pull out. You might get a good one, might get something you can take home and eat. You might not.
The bad thing about it is, and it's $25,000. I think that was a mixture of that 25,000 went to the Vanity Press, and then it went to KN Literary. So I didn't pay all the 25 grand to the Vanity Press. I want to make sure I get my story straight. So I found KN Literary through Hay House. Now, KN Literary, they are a legit company. I mean, they are, but they have editors, they have proofreaders. They're going to help you, get your book out there. But they are really, really expensive.
Yeah.
And working with them wasn't a bad experience. but it was nowhere near in the same vicinity as working with freaking Alana Nash on Thought Snob. It was two totally different editing experiences.
And how many authors have up to 50 grand out the gate? Not
I
many.
was putting mine on a Discover card, and the lady that with the Vanity Press, she knew that.
Right. And you've talked about what you've spent just to get the product.
Yeah,
You have not.
that I couldn't
developed-
sell.
Right. The marketing. How
Mhm.
much money goes into that's people really need to know that, because even if you have top notch of A to Z, the editor, publishing company, traditional publishing, they are getting it in every store. They are doing some promoting for you. You still have to promote yourself.
You do.
And it's going to be expensive, and it's
Mhm.
going to be time consuming. And you cannot expect an instant return on that, if at all.
Right. There's no
You don't know.
guarantees.
Right.
The only thing in the beginning on that note with marketing and promoting, I did one thing right in the beginning, and that was build a platform. I reluctantly jumped on the social media bandwagon,
Right.
and I started building that platform, and I've continued to build that platform, and that's the one thing that I did right. And there's a ton of information about that in the summit.
In the beginning of that, how much money do you think you spent in the first year on social media? Just boosting, promoting.
First year, I'd say at least a couple of grand, because I was just toying with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's when Facebook ads kind of worked.
They did work once upon a time. Once upon a time. I'm not sure who they work for now. Temu? Maybe they work for Temu.
Maybe.
I get a lot of those.
I get a lot of those. They're definitely working for some clothing designers. They burn me up. But I get a lot of spam when I do a promoted ad through Facebook. A lot of spam.
And you're talking about in the comments.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. The
And bots, but that doesn't happen on Instagram, and it's all Meta. So I don't really get it, because the ads can be way more effective on Instagram. TikTok is where it's at.
Mhm.
That's where, for me, the ads have been most effective. But
you
each
did some
year,
Google ads too, right?
Google ads, and then my husband Will handles the Amazon ads, because that's the only place you can find my book is on Amazon.
Mhm.
And so he handles the Amazon ads and the YouTube ads, and those seem to work. I mean, those seem to work pretty well, but Facebook is quite useless in my opinion.
Yeah, it used to be great.
But it used to be really great. So in answer to your question, in the beginning, 2019, 2020, I got some traction off of those ads on Facebook.
And Facebook, I do want to say, for those who are on Facebook, I don't think it's useless as far as just being on it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's better to not even put the attention on your business page,
Mm-hmm.
because that doesn't get seen as much
It
in
doesn't.
the algorithm. So it's better to build just your personal
Mm-hmm.
page. And if you are someone who is an author, or you want to be an author,
Mm-hmm.
just go ahead and build that now and get that digital creator.
Yep.
And do everything from there, rather than even trying to mess with the business page. I mean,
Mhm.
have the business page,
Right.
as
Yeah.
as a additional platform, obviously, but no.
And another thing too, while we're on this topic, website. Authors got to have a website.
Absolutely.
Got
Yeah.
to. Um,
And it is a monthly expense.
it is a
And
monthly expense.
Some people, it's going to feel worthless because you're not going to see a ton, especially at 1st.
Mhm.
But you have to have base.
You have to have it because it's like it's a credibility thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a credibility thing. And I'm the same way. If I Google somebody and their website doesn't pop up, I'm like, what's going on there?
Is this legitimate, or did they stop doing this?
Right.
Are they still in business? Are they still trying to sell this book? Or
Yeah.
Right. Do they care about this anymore?
Right.
Have they moved on to the next thing?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's so many scams, and
Mhm.
it's like you gotta be careful. And but yeah, the website is an absolute must. And in the summit, get down to the down and dirty, not only about that, but also about the benefits of having a CRM.
Yes,
You got to do a newsletter,
absolutely.
and you got
Which is a
to.
whole nother full-time job.
It's a whole other thing. It's a
Thank
whole.
goodness you can schedule them. That's
Thank
probably my
God.
favorite thing
You
with
can schedule. Yeah.
with social media posts and getting out your newsletter is you can schedule them. So you can go on there if you do have some downtime, knock out a few and
Mm-hmm.
put them on the calendar. Then you can not think about that for a month or two.
Right. Just push them out.
Yeah.
You do monthly, right? Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I get yours monthly. I do monthly. Mine goes out on the 15th of each month, and I'm just now learning about how to improve my click rate. It's like for so long I would send my newsletter out, and this is something that authors just really need to know and be aware of. The way that the newsletter's laid out means something,
Absolutely.
and I just figured that out. Like,
But you know, things are always changing too.
always changing.
Like I just figured it out. Well, okay, but 3 months from now it's going to change again. The algorithm's going to change.
Oh God, yeah.
What Google is putting out there
Mm-hmm.
when you search something even.
Mm-hmm.
So I could search your name today and it could be in the front page.
Right.
I could search your name 3 months from now and it'll be on the second page, but your sales have gone up. But there's some other little word there that was missed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a constant game. So having someone to help with that is beneficial.
It's definitely beneficial, and it's going to cost money, and
Mhm.
it's like it goes back to what I said about the purpose that a vanity press can serve. What are your goals for the book? I think that's one of the first things that an inspiring author needs to really figure out. Did you do that, or did you just know? I just knew.
I think I just knew, but then after the knowing, the intuitive knowing,
Mm-hmm.
and you get serious about it, then that's when like the questions start coming in. I
Mm-hmm.
think, right? That's
Oh yeah.
that's where I spent a lot of time on the phone with David G. Like, the fuck am I doing? Like, I don't even know, because I'm the kind of person that just full steam ahead. Like when I decide I'm gonna do something, there is nothing that's gonna fucking stop me.
Oh yeah. I'm the same way. I'm just gonna yeah.
But I'm building the plane as I'm flying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just figuring it out as I go. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a flaw of mine that I do need to kind of reel back sometimes. I think the ambition and the fire behind it is healthy and good,
Mm-hmm.
but I need to sometimes pause and plan a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
which is another reason I wanted to do the Aspiring Author Summit, because I hope it helps someone get that structure,
Mm-hmm.
because this is not the business that you want to just be jumping into and not know what you're doing. It's not, for
It's
several reasons. You will waste a lot of time, a lot of energy, be disappointed over and over and over again. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being disappointed and then just, all right, fuck it, let's do it again. Like,
right. Right. Oh, I know.
whatever needs to be done.
Whatever needs to be done.
But when you have poured your whole soul into it,
Mm-hmm.
that's a slap to the face. And not everyone can handle that.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
Yeah.
There's a huge emotional resilience piece to this. And if I wasn't like, you can't knock me down with an Amtrak train type of person,
Right.
I would have given up after that first book. That was a mess.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
And if those of you out there watching are an author that you feel like you have a story you need to tell, you feel like you have a tool to help someone,
Mm-hmm.
that needs to be out there in whatever capacity that is. So I would hate to see someone with a really good story
Mm-hmm.
or just their truth, really, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Because there's so many varieties of books, right? Everything isn't spirituality or self-help or mental health or mindset. But even look at Harry Potter. I mean, the effect that had on an entire generation of people
Mm-hmm.
is mind-boggling. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say a lot of those kids that read it when they were kids would say that saved them in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
So whatever that story is, yeah, they need to get it out there.
And didn't, Will, you can fact check me on this. Didn't J.K. Rowling didn't she get rejected by like a gazillion publishers and literary
That sounds
agents?
right, because all of the best ones always do, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
like, yeah.
I think they were just like, no.
Yeah, and she was homeless at some point.
Yeah. And that's just a prime example. If you want to do something, you're meant to do it. She
Absolutely.
came up with Harry Potter.
Right, which is brilliant.
It's brilliant. She was meant to do that, and she didn't give up.
That kept my son in his room. Literally, he would get a Harry Potter book, so be so excited, pre-order it.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as he would get it, he would stay in his room the entire day. I mean, literally would not come out of his room, I don't even think, to eat half the time
Yeah.
until that book was read. And we're talking, some of those books are, what, 700 pages?
Little thick.
And he was, I'm bad with timelines, but I'm thinking he was about 7 or 8.
But it held his
Reading
attention.
books.
I mean, that's how brilliant of an
Yeah.
author she is. And publishing companies were like,
Right.
So
So you can't
she,
pay any attention to that.
she did get rejected by 12 publishers before Bloomsbury
12.
published it.
12 idiots.
I've been rejected by 12.
Oh, 12 dumbasses said no.
12 dumbasses said
Yeah.
no. And
And you know what? The saddest part of that is, was not her story. It's because they didn't fucking know her.
they didn't know her. She wasn't a celebrity. Her last name wasn't McConaughey or Kardashian or freaking Kennedy. And they're like, you don't have a platform.
Right.
I can hear it.
You're homeless.
I can hear it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're homeless. What can you do to sell this book?
Mhm.
You know, because I got asked that a lot. And I got offered a really, really crappy contract by a traditional publisher that if I would have been offered that contract in 2019,
You would have taken it.
oh, I would have thought I was J-Lo. Like I was ready for the big time if I would have gotten that contract. That's another thing that is talked about in the summit.
Yeah.
That's important.
Read it with a
You
fine tooth
got to
comb.
know because they
Have a
can take
lawyer
your
look over it.
yes.
Because verbiage is often skewed in legal documents. They
Mhm.
a lot. Con men don't want you to know what you're signing.
No, not at all.
So having a legal team or at least a lawyer
Mhm.
that understands.
I want to point out too. So these con artists in the publishing industry, they have an overarching characteristic that I noticed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sense of urgency to get your money.
Oh yeah, it's like
You got to pay us now. There's a deadline now. We can't publish your book unless you pay us now.
yeah, it's like when you go to timeshares.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta sign this now. This deal is not going to be
Mhm.
available in 30 minutes.
Yeah, you're
It
done.
has to be now.
Mm-hmm.
If there's ever that, walk away.
Walk away. And any traditional publisher that wants any money from you, period, is not a traditional
Absolutely.
publisher. And if they skirt around and say, oh, we don't have editors, we have proofreaders, that's also a scam.
Yeah.
Because when you get with a traditional publisher, it's a whole other ballpark.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a whole other ballpark. And I do not have a traditional publishing deal, just to make that clear. I self-published Thought Snob. And I don't...
But we have literally on this table right here, we have 3 different forms of publishing.
we do.
So my husband Leo has traditional publishing, and I have hybrid, and you are self.
Mm-hmm.
So and every single one was drastically different as far as the experience.
Yes.
What was spent or what was given.
Mm-hmm.
Leo received money.
And that's how it's supposed to
Up
work.
front.
Right.
If you're
You
going
got a
with-
bonus, sign-on bonus.
Right. If you're going with a traditional publisher,
Mhm.
that's what you should be getting.
Yeah.
Not them saying you need to pay us.
Right.
Yeah.
And this book here, I have to point out, like, it's so high quality.
It is so,
It's so
gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. It's so high quality, and even the texture of the pages, it's like it's
yeah, like seeing it on film or
it's the cream of the
when you're looking at a photo of it, you know, on Amazon or where it doesn't do it any justice.
no.
When you get it in your hands, it's holy shit,
Yeah.
shit, this is a traditional publisher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. Like, of course, I've bought so many books from traditionally published authors, but when I got Leo's in the mail, it was like, because I know him, I was like, damn, that looks better than mine for real.
I mean, they did a great job on
They did a
that.
beautiful job.
And it, in all honesty, it is higher quality than a lot of even other traditional. Like,
It
it
really
really is.
is. It really is.
Yeah.
It's this okay, so I just started reading Deepak Chopra's newest book.
Mhm.
God, what's the name of it? It's about AI.
Oh, I haven't read that one. Have you read that, Leo?
It'll come to me. His book, forgive me, God, does not look this good. Like
Mm-mm.
this looks great. I love it.
Yeah, they did an amazing job. I mean, the thickness of the
Mhm.
hardcover, and I think the colors too. Like,
Oh,
whoever
yeah.
designed that cover, I don't know who that
Perfect.
is to give them credit. I wish we could. We're sitting here praising it. I wish we could give them credit.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
eh, the main umbrella company is Simon and Schuster, but it probably says in there who designed the cover. But they did really well.
They did a beautiful job, and just pointing it out because going into writing a book and negotiating with these different publishers and going through this whole process and learning the huge differences between traditional, hybrid, indie, vanity press, all of those entities, there are distinctive characteristics to look out for.
Yeah.
They don't operate the same.
Not
Not at
even
all.
in the same ballpark.
Mm-mm.
No.
Not at all. And
And I thought I was going to miss out on a lot of the negativity going with a hybrid. I guess I did in a way, but I still was very disappointed in and my publishing company used COVID as an excuse for a lot of their letdown.
Same.
And I mean, I get it. COVID was a hard time, and a
Mhm.
lot of people were working from home.
Mhm.
But in my opinion, that's still not a reason to make it right. Like, if I mess up and my clients suffer because of that, I'm going to make it right.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened on my end.
Well, and people were reading a lot during COVID.
Yeah.
It was a great time to sell a book. I mean,
Absolutely.
you all were setting on a gold mine with this.
Yeah.
You could have sold the hell.
I sold way more copies on my own
Mm-hmm.
than they did.
Sure.
I was buying them in bulk
Right.
and selling them from my platforms on social are not as large as your following, but it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And
Your engagement's high.
yeah, it is high.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I was still selling way more than they were.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I came out the gate swinging.
Yeah.
But they gave me a date that was wrong for my release date. And
Oh, well.
like also important, aspiring authors, with the date you release is extremely important
Very.
for hitting. That's how people hit things like New York Times bestseller.
That's how you get an algorithm on Amazon
Right. That's how you hit #1 on Amazon.
and the rankings.
Whatever your sales are from release date to maybe like 3 months out, those numbers right there, uber important. So you want to come out of the gate swinging. Well, I was ready for that. I had my date. I had my people. Like, I had my people on board. Like you said, my engagement is high.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my people really do support me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I tell them I need you for this, this is the date we're doing it. I mean, they're there for me. Everyone was ready. I get tagged in a video on Instagram from a woman in Brazil reading my book, a physical copy, and I didn't even know it was out there.
That's a damn shame.
Yeah.
That's a damn shame.
So I completely missed
Mm-hmm.
my release date and hitting those numbers and those main goals. They put it out weeks, if not a couple months, before I even knew.
Did not communicate that with you.
Not at all. And nor did I even know this woman that was in Brazil reading it.
Right. Is your book for sale only on Amazon?
I, right now, particularly like to sell my book on my website.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it is on Amazon, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't even know who's controlling that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I have tried to get that back into my possession. So far, I have not.
Mm-hmm.
So as of now, we are only doing that on the website. Yeah.
Well, it's the only way to go. I mean, seriously.
And
And
you know what's going on.
yeah, and I'm so glad that we're talking about this because flashback to 2019 when I knew nothing, I would have never thought that would have happened to somebody.
Yeah.
I was way more naive than I ever wanted to admit. But it happens in the music business. It happens.
The book business and the music business is exactly the same. Same script. It works exactly the same way. Mm-hmm.
And it's just so, like you said, disheartening to know that somebody with excellent intentions that just wants to write a book, or they've got this glorious talent and they want to sing or they want to play an instrument, and then they just get absolutely railroaded. It should be illegal. And what the Vanity Press did with me should be illegal, but it's not.
No.
Now, they did have to refund some of my money. Like they didn't have a choice because they got caught in a string of bad business, and they were breach of contract.
Yeah.
They didn't deliver, and they didn't do a lot of what they said they were going to do, and so they did have to refund some of my money. And I think that was just to absolutely get me to shut up,
Right.
because when I started digging into it and I figured out like how badly I had been done, I felt stupid and humiliated, and that is the worst thing for me, because then that leads to like just anger at a whole other level.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was mad at myself, I was mad at them, and I cited all of this. Like it took me weeks to put all of this information together. Meanwhile, this Vanity Press is still coming up with reasons why I need to pay them.
Of course they are.
And they had no idea.
And how often do people just keep paying them
I did it for
and not get their money back?
Right. I mean, I did it for I guess it was a couple of years.
So what were some of the things they were saying you needed to pay for? Just so viewers know.
I'll get this. So I'm trying to like protect identity because they live 4 miles from here. So they have there's 2 branches to this company. One of them is a Vanity Press, and the other company is like I don't really know, like a women's empowerment company.
Oh yeah, I remember you doing that. I remember that. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yes, that's when I hadn't caught on.
Right.
Okay. So, where was I going with that? I lost
Things
my
they
train.
were
Oh,
telling
yeah.
you need to pay for.
Okay. When I remember sitting upstairs in my office, this is like the greatest example ever. I was sitting upstairs in my office, and I was actually going through all of the evidence. Like I was putting together an email to like email to them and be like, pow, pow, pow. I found this out. I found that out. I found this out. I found that out. They told me that there was an editing team and book designers in the UK, is why the company was international. I found out there are no people in the UK. Okay. So I'm sitting there and I'm going through the evidence, and I get a phone call from head honcho.
Said neighbor.
Right. That person.
So neighborly.
And this person's like, I have the best news for you, Paula. Like, are you sitting down? I said, I am. And they're like, your keynote this year, your keynote.
That's when they give you the award.
Baby, I am putting you on that stage. This was a year later. Baby, I am putting you on that stage. You've earned it. You're the best author that has ever walked through my doors. And I'm telling you, I've worked with the best of the best, and you are the best of the best. All I need you to do is pay your $800 tonight by midnight to secure your spot at the conference.
Here. Keynotes get paid to speak. They do not pay to speak.
Happened. Like, and I didn't want, and I think they instinctively knew that something was going on with me, because I'd cut off the meetings, I cut off paying, kept coming up with all this stuff, and I'd cut the whole thing off, and then came up with that. And I was just like, no. I said, you can't count on me. You need to find somebody else. I can't commit to that. And 2 or 3 days later is when I sent the email, and they responded back with they were worried about my mental health.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. Are you serious?
Swear to God, I still got the emails. Like, you would laugh your ass off if you read this. Desperate phone calls,
Wow.
weird voicemails. But it responded back to
It's starting to sound a little cultish.
I'm telling you, it was bizarre.
A little cultish.
It was bizarre. And
It's like I would have been surprised if they were in your driveway at some point. Mm.
well, let's just say, have not laid eyes on the person, but a close member of her family is around a lot.
Hmm.
And so it is awkward and bizarre on a multitude of levels. And I don't judge anybody based on their family. I don't know if her family member knows
Right.
what a con artist,
Probably not.
you know?
Probably not.
But it was very, very bizarre. And I sent that email, and it was just like a few minutes later, their email comes in. Oh my God, my dearest darling Paula, honey, I need to come see you immediately. I'm worried about your mental health.
Worried sick about you. Mm-hmm.
Where is this coming
See,
from?
that was her building a case.
Sure.
That's what she was doing.
Sure.
Yeah.
I didn't respond to that one. Then another email came in a little later that night, and she was outlining dates that I had missed meetings when my mom was in and out of the hospital for her blood pressure issues that were going on.
Now, is this the kind of group that if you don't go to so many meetings, you have to pay?
No, no, nothing like
Okay.
that. But it's always an upsell. Like on their website, they had me pay $250 to upload a book trailer to their website. Had to do that, and said, it gets I don't know how many hits a day, this website, and it just had to be done. Then got me
They
to
show
pay.
you how many hits a day they got?
Nope,
Okay.
never did I ask.
Right.
Never did get that data. And then had me join the International Speakers Bureau because, well, if you're an author, I mean, you have to belong to that. So it's just just 250, 250, 500, 500, 500, and it just kept going and going and going. And I can't stress enough about the editing. It was my rough draft was published, like printed.
Yes, I remember. I have that book.
Yeah, I threw them all away. Like, I was like, I got to get this. I can't even look at it. Like, I can't even look at it. But it was just a really, really shitty deal. And a lot of it was my fault for falling for it. I mean, I willingly, jumped right in the fire. But I just wouldn't have thought that someone would have done me that way.
Right.
But
especially, this is someone local too. This isn't someone in another country or on the other side of our country.
Will's
This
known
was
the yeah.
someone that lives in your area
Yes.
doing this to you, which I think if it was me, that would have made me feel like, oh, they're probably fine because they're right here. Like this is a tangible person.
Mhm.
I can talk to this person. This is not a robot. This isn't a scam artist, coming across like a telemarketer.
Right.
Because that's going to happen to you too, authors.
Oh, Lord. It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
But your phone is going to blow up. As soon as you get your book out there, places are going to be calling and emailing through the roof.
Yep.
That they have this deal and that deal, and you need to come here, and we're going to market your book at this largest event in the UK. And
oh, yeah.
don't fall for any of them.
Don't fall for any of it. Anybody that solicits your involvement in that way, it's a scam.
Absolutely.
It's
100%.
it's an absolute scam.
And even if you are going to get some marketing out of it, it's probably not going to be worth whatever they're trying to charge you.
Right.
Do your own research and figure out what companies or what platforms you want to market through.
Yes.
And you're better off marketing on your own website that you don't even have a following on yet, or don't even have a great email list, than doing something like that, being just a spammer.
Yep.
Spam call.
That's right.
And you're going to be blown up with them. I still get them constantly.
Oh gosh, I do too.
But especially right out the gate,
Mm-hmm.
was your phone just like blowing up every day?
My email was,
Yeah.
and then the phone calls started, and then they
I
would
don't even know how
contact
they got
me.
my phone number.
I don't either. And then they contact me through Facebook. They still contact me through Facebook, and they'll tell me what a bad job I'm doing.
Right. You're such a shitty marketer.
It's like,
Like, come over, look, pay us money.
Yeah.
You have like what? How many followers right now on TikTok?
141,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say 140,000.
Mm.
They'll hit you up and say, "Hey, you're doing a shitty job. You need to pay us." And then you click on their page, and they got like maybe 1,000 followers.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like,
That's kind of odd. Yeah, I had someone contact me the other day about how terrible my YouTube channel was, and that my engagement was so low, and just that stuff goes on.
Yeah.
A lot, and you've just got to be in the know. Do your research, and that's exactly what our summit is for. It's like a smorgasbord of everything you need to know, just really under one roof.
Yeah, and there's so many authors telling their story.
Yes.
Because you and I are two stories.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear that. But when you hear over and over and over again the same type of stories, then one, this is truth. We're not just sitting here telling you these things based on just our experience.
Right.
This happens across the board.
Mm-hmm. And there are good stories too in the summit.
Right.
Like Shelby.
And we want you all to figure out how to be that good story.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And ours turned out to be a good story.
It did.
But I feel like if we would have had this knowledge, we could have gotten there a lot sooner and definitely a lot cheaper.
A lot sooner, a lot cheaper. And I feel like in a lot of ways, that first book really did hurt my credibility a little bit and tainted.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Nope. We're not going down.
Yeah.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
No. I don't think. Okay, so from my perspective, right, I've known you the entire time.
Yeah.
I think that it increased your credibility because the resilience. You could have just stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And you could just be on TikTok just doing that.
Right.
And that's fine. You have a huge following on there. You're still helping people. I think you're still hitting all the checks.
Mm-hmm. That
was the goal behind the book.
Yeah.
So you could do all of that probably more productive than even messing with a book.
I'll tell you what Will's dad said. Okay, so the first box of the first book that came in from the Vanity Press, the cover was all out of balance.
Is this on the first one that you're talking about?
The first one, like the
That
first.
has your picture on it.
Mm-hmm. But the first box, so with my deal, I got 50 books, and they came, and I opened up the box, and the cover was off center. Everything was off center. Part of my head was cut off.
Wow.
And I was like, what has happened here? And so, of course, contacted the person, and they fixed the problem.
Okay, so I never saw that one.
You never saw that one because the only, let's see, maybe 2 or 3 people got a copy of that book.
Okay.
And one of those people was Will's dad. And I remember giving him a copy of the book and being like, it's jacked up and the cover's off center, but they're fixing it or whatever. He was like, well, this will be the one that's worth a fortune one day on eBay.
Exactly.
And it's like that comment sticks in my head. And I just want to, because we're both people that are very aware and believe in conscious creation, and comments like that, you gotta stay with those.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so that comment always stays with me, and because that would be hilarious.
I don't think it hurt your credibility at all, not even a little bit.
That's
like saying J.K. Rowling's credibility was shot because of those 12 no's.
Well, that's true. That's true.
No, that's just 12 idiots that fucked her over.
That's right.
And that's what happened.
Well, and it's like
if they would have just think like these people who are con artists. That's what blows my mind about con artists is they're actually smart.
Very.
right? You have to be smart to con people over.
Calculating.
And if you are that smart, you could get behind the right people legitimately and genuinely and go so much further.
Yes.
Like you would have pulled them up as much as they were pulling you up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I can't wrap my brain around.
I can't either because they're working a lot harder conning
To be,
people.
yeah.
And their business would like go a lot farther if they
Absolutely.
just did the right
Mhm.
thing. Because then their authors would actually have lucrative careers.
Right. And then they're not sitting here talking about how they are con artists.
Right.
So, like, we're not saying who this person is or who this company is right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone called you and said, hey, would you suggest that you would not say yes?
No. I'd be like, oh God.
Run the other way.
Run the other way. Unless you want to give the book to your
With the
mama.
140,000 followers just on TikTok. We're not even talking about how many you have on Instagram, Facebook, etc. And now with your podcast and keynote speaking and all of the things.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have been legitimate with you,
Mm-hmm.
we could be saying their name right now.
Absolutely.
And all of those followers would be hearing that name.
Absolutely. And
They missed out.
don't think that I
hurts
haven't
them, not you.
It does hurt. It does totally hurt. It totally hurts them because their business is always going to stay right here.
Mhm.
It's going to stay right there. It's never going to
Or-
get
or
in
go
the
down
limelight
further.
or go down. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's never going to get in the limelight.
You can't fuck people like us over and win.
No,
And
hell
I'm not
no.
even trying to say that like, I'm way up here or whatever based on everyone else. But I'm saying real, genuine, good-hearted people with good intentions.
You better watch
You
it.
cannot fuck them
You
over and
cannot.
win.
You cannot.
You might hurt our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You might knock us down for a second. We might have taken 5 steps forward and then now we're taking 2 back because of something you did. But trust and believe we're going to end up being the ones on top. Period.
Oh, period. Period.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like you really need to be careful when you con like a good person. Like it's not going to turn out in your
No, karma is real. Karma is real.
It absolutely is. And
it works in good and bad, right?
Good
Like
and bad.
people always look at it as the bad person getting their bad.
Mm-hmm.
But what do the good people get?
Right.
Like
Right.
so much more.
Mm-hmm. And I'm showing them a lot of grace right now by not blasting their company.
Exactly.
I could do it without any repercussions at all.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just let it take care of itself.
Right.
And if anybody were to ever ask me about that situation, then I would be honest about it if they were thinking about doing business with those people.
And same with mine. I haven't blasted mine either. I do have a little bit of compassion for mine, although I probably shouldn't. But the editor did pass away. So,
I remember that.
yeah, there's new people running it now. And it was during COVID. And the person that passed away, I had probably a 3-hour phone call with him. And he was deeply sorry. And he did try to make it right. And I think if he was still around, a lot of things right now would be different too. I don't know. But I know that things are going to work out in the wash either way.
Yeah, and too, in situations like this, there is an element of protection here because if I'm being 1,000% honest with myself, I wasn't ready for what I'm ready for now with that first book. I wasn't ready. The writing wasn't as good.
Like bad relationships.
It is.
You have
It
has the bad relationships to appreciate and be good enough for the good one.
That's exactly right. That's the best way to describe it. And I wasn't ready. I wasn't on my A game. My writing wasn't as good. And and that first book did not include a lot of my stuff, like my teachings. It was other people's. And it was like more about me than it was the reader. This book's about the reader. This book was written for the person reading it. And my stories are in there, here and there.
So would you say the other one was more memoir?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. And which was not real. I didn't do my research. And if you're going to if you want to turn your book into a lucrative career, then you need to figure out what's going to sell.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a memoir
What do
written,
people need? What do they need?
what do they
want?
need, and what is the market saturated with your book. There are certain words you don't need to use in your title, your subtitle, all sorts of things, just all sorts of things. And what do you think is the most important, the first step that someone who has no idea what they're doing but they want to write a book, what kind of advice would you give them as a first step?
Probably the same thing David G told me. Just keep fucking writing.
Yeah.
Every single day,
Just
just
write.
keep writing, get those thoughts down. Don't worry about the editing. Don't worry about the spelling, the structure, all of that. Just create an outline ish.
Yeah.
It's going to be very ish because things are going to, whatever you think you're going to do right now, whatever you think that final product is going to look like, it's not going to look any fucking thing like that.
No.
So just let that go right now.
Yep. Let that go.
Not what it's going to be. Guarantee you it's not what it's going to be. Because between the author and their thoughts shifting and just the whole direction possibly even shifting, and then you go through the editor and the publisher, it's no.
Right.
It's going to shift. Allow it to be its own entity and flow. So throw that out and just write. Then later you can go back and structure it. And in the meantime, be watching things like our Aspiring Author Summit, doing all the research you can possibly do all along the way. Because then by the time you get finished with an actual book and you do have a manuscript, now you know who you probably want to go with.
Yeah.
Now you have some type of goal.
Right.
But if you put off the writing just for that research, I feel like then you'll just keep putting off the writing.
Yeah.
So if you have something that's tangible, it gives you a little bit more excitement to get out there and get it published.
Right. And the way that we design the summit, it's virtual, it's evergreen. The information that's communicated, it's timeless, it's classic. It's the bare basics, really. Things just really aren't going to change too much based on a lot of the information that's communicated. So we made it easy to get the information without having to go down a rabbit hole.
And you're lucky even if you go down a rabbit hole to still find it.
Oh,
That's
I know.
another thing that I wanted to create this for. Because I feel like every time I had a question, I would go to find it and it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
I don't know why that really is. Do you felt like that too?
Or I'd see a lot of conflicting information.
Right. But like, trying to find an agent.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That.
oh, God. That's a whole other thing.
Like, you would think that would be just people who've never written a book or never looked into it think, oh, yeah, that's a quick Google search, right? No, the fuck it's not. It's not even close to a quick Google search.
Not even close. Like, I paid KN Literary, and there's some information about this in the summit. I paid KN Literary. I think it was, I can't remember. It might have been a couple of $1,000s to do a literary agent search for me, like a matchmaking process. And I don't remember how many agents were on that spreadsheet, but I am telling you that I contacted every single one of them. Every single one. That took up 2 or 3 months of my life.
Right. And then today, do you have an agent?
Oh, no.
No.
It was a very demeaning process. I'm sure J.K. Rowling can relate. And I had an encounter with one agent, and I talk about this in the summit, that truly was mind-blowing.
It feels like a secret
It was
society.
a famous agent.
Yeah, it feels like some secret society that they don't want to let anyone into. But then on the flip side of that, you have my husband Leo's experience where we thought it was a fucking joke.
He thought the email was spam.
He thought it was a joke. Yeah, and I convinced him like, I don't know. I'm thinking you might want to at least answer this person back. Something is feeling legitimate here. But his experience was one that I don't know
They
anyone
put it out of
else.
the sky.
Yeah, I don't really know anyone else that has happened to.
But
And I will say that the Chopra Center is what
right,
provided that experience
right.
because Leo and I were both already contributing writers for Chopra Global,
Mm-hmm.
and his agent was looking for a very specific topic on Ayurveda and gardening, wanting to merge those two together. Leo was the
And he had
perfect.
the article set
Yeah,
there.
he had the
Mhm.
articles there already published with Chopra, so he was the perfect candidate. But yeah, it was
And it's an area the market's not saturated.
right. No, not
And
doing it.
that's a big deal. I
Yeah.
found that out, and that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing that people need to take into consideration because that first book that I wrote had the law of attraction in the titles.
Right, and that is completely
You
oversaturated.
cannot do that anymore. Like it's not. No traditional publisher is going to pick that up. That's a fact. I don't even feel like I'm stating an opinion. It's
Yeah.
just
And honestly, most readers aren't going to pick that up at
they're
this
not.
point,
They're not.
unless they are a baby as far as their conscious level in that world. Then they
Mhm.
might, but there's just so much.
There's so much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So see, it
Yeah.
happened for you exactly the way it was supposed to happen anyway.
It did. I mean,
It really did.
it was a lot, but it changed me in a good way. It changed me in a good
Mhm.
way because you can't put a price tag on wisdom.
Right. Exactly.
It's just, you just can't. And so it would be really hard to con me
Mhm.
in this say in time. As I've seen it all, and the summit, I feel like anybody that sits down and watches the summit, and they could keep going back to it too because it's a lot of information
Yeah.
to take in. But that's why it's evergreen. It's virtual. Go at your own pace. Watch it on your own time.
And it's all separate videos. So,
Right.
if you're like, okay, I kind of need to go, 6 months have passed, but I kind of
Mhm.
need a refresher on this because this is the stage I'm at now.
Right.
Like, if I was someone who hadn't written my book yet, I'm wanting to do that. I want to get published. I want to watch the summit. I would watch the entire thing
Mm-hmm.
and then go back depending on what stage I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of con, I don't feel like I got as conned on my publishing deal as you did.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you where I did was my website. The person and company that I have now, I adore them. The owner is absolutely amazing. But before that, I had a really, really bad experience. I paid thousands of dollars and it didn't even work properly.
Oh God.
Like, I just can't even explain to you how many times I stood at the computer cussing it out. It was just so bad. It was so bad.
It's just
And it was thousands of dollars
Right.
just gone.
Mm-hmm.
And a website is expensive.
It is. Oh yeah, especially a good one.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But if you're just starting, I started with WordPress maybe. I'm not really sure. Whatever the lower end, you can't
I
do
think
as
that's
much
what
with it.
I think that's what mine was too.
Yeah.
Maybe
You
WordPress.
can totally start with that and it looked great and be fine. Now, my very first website was great, but the second one I needed to upgrade because I needed more videos. All these TV interviews I'm doing, I want links on there. I want them to be able to just see it and boom, click. Well, you couldn't do that with my original one. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. But that was trial and error too.
So with me, I think that we cover the most important aspects that any aspiring author needs to consider.
Yeah.
Before they start writing their book, and you can tell me if I'm missing anything here. So we're talking about building a platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about just write the manuscript.
Yep.
And outline-ish. Think about what you're
Outline-ish.
right, right. And then editing,
Who you're writing the book for.
who you're writing the book for, what your goals are, which path you're going to take with the publishing.
Yep.
Website, possibly using a CRM, marketing, promoting. We also cover the power of social media, working with a PR firm, working with literary agents.
And don't let the marketing scare them. Like, I think,
No.
we talk about that too. Like, a lot of authors are introverts.
Yes.
They want to be the person just sitting in the background, writing the book, not talking,
Mhm.
not being on camera. You're going to have to put yourself out there.
You have to get out of your comfort zone. You really have
No
to.
one's going to do that for you.
No, not at all. Because, my dream world would be to just sit and write. I mean, that's like the thing that I love to do most. And
Right.
that's the piece of it that's the easiest for me is the writing. I could write a book a month, but I wouldn't be able to do anything with all those books.
Well, you wouldn't have time to market all of them by
No.
yourself either. Now, and when I say no one's going to do it for you, yes, you can hire people and pay for the ads and go with a traditional publisher that's going to really put you out there. And maybe you'll make it and be as large as J.K. Rowling. We keep going back to her. But even with her, she's still on social media.
Oh, yeah.
All right, you still have to show up to the television interviews, the radio interviews, the podcast interviews, etc. Only you can be you.
That's right. That's right. And it goes back to what's your why? Why do you want to write a book? What do you want to do with it? What is your goal? And I'll close out with this statement. If your goal is for that book to turn into a lucrative career, then there needs to be several revenue streams that branch out from that book with the keynote speaking, the workshops. There's a lot of things you can do.
Right.
Coaching. And so it's an awesome line of work.
If you're a
Events,
novelist,
books, book
if
signings.
you're a fantasy writer, you're going to have to go to fantasy events.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right. And it's for me a very rewarding line of work to be in. And it's like no matter how bad things were with my experiences, I have now people contacting me day and night from all over the world. I've met some of the most wonderful people, and they contact me day and night, and they tell me how my book has helped them. Oh my God, Paula, this story resonated. I feel like you're talking directly to me. My life was just like yours. I'm seeing a different perspective of everything. It's those messages that make it really for me all worthwhile because a self-help book changed my life. When I was the most miserable human being ever, and I was in my late 20s, and I ran across Dr. Wayne Dyer, and that self-help book changed my life. I had no support, no resources, no money, no nothing. But I could get that book. I could buy books. I could get my hands on books. So I never wanted to ever anybody underestimate the power of a book. A self-help book changed my life, period. And so I just feel like I'm returning the favor to all the self-help authors who helped me.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wayne Dyer was amazing. His work is still amazing. But
Still, it's like it will live forever. I still refer to his books all the time. If I have a problem, I'll just grab one of Wayne's books, off the shelf, and I'll just open it up and see what page it takes me to. And I always get some kind of guidance, something. Yeah.
And I think that's true for any book across the board. If you just pick it up and open it up, just close your eyes and point to a sentence. If it doesn't inspire you, it's going to make you laugh.
Oh, absolutely.
Like just to know what sentence you picked intuitively.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we should tell everybody where they can access the summit. It's on both of our websites, but they pay through your website.
Yes. Paula's website will redirect you to my website, and my website is drmelissacarver.com.
And all the information is linked below with this episode. So please go check it out. All of the information is there. You can read about it. You can see all of our presenters, which we spent a lot of time identifying those folks. They're very experienced. Them. Yes, handpicking them, and they're all very forthcoming about their stories. couple of them are social media stars, doing very, very well, making a lot of money selling their books, and they talk about how they're doing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So thank you so much for watching.
The Thought Snob Podcast with Paula Swope has been brought to you by Thought Snob Media in association with Special Purpose Studios. All production, mixing, and sound engineering by me, Will Swope. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Please take a few seconds to give us 5 stars and leave a review. See you on the next Thought Snob Podcast with Paula Swope.